Hi, I'm RC Jim, and this is now the second video on the repair of our Decathlon since we had the crash. And so, yeah, the last time we left you with the engine cowls that are being worked on with nothing up here, with this all in tatters up there, and now here we go. So let's see how it all took place. Now guys, I realized that my objective in this repair was just to get this plane flying again to where I could see if I could get it to fly decent enough to, you know, make a serious thing out of the whole project. But I can't help but try new things and whatever. So anyway, with this plane, the receiver, of course, is right there smack dab in the middle. And the way I had to set it up before was with a battery right across the top of that receiver. So I put one antenna vertical over here, and I think, you know, the other one went horizontal someplace. But you got a big battery on this side, you got a big motor over on that end, you got servos down below, and, you know, I just didn't really like that setup. And so even before I finished that build, I ordered this guy. Now, what this is a Lemon RX satellite receiver. And I kind of think of it like an extension for the antenna, but it's actually more than just an extension for the antenna. It's actually a full receiver in there, that little tiny thing. They use these a lot in drones and quadcopters, that type of thing, where they just plug this thing straight into the control box sort of a thing. So anyway, my plan is to stick this back in here to get the antennas back here in this area where there's absolutely nothing. This is all plastic. That's not metal inside the control rods. That's plastic through there. Light balsa, lots of open areas and stuff like that. And you have to get way up into here someplace before you get anything that would interfere with a radio signal. So that would be, to me, absolutely ideal. Now, I will admit right off the bat that it's probably totally unnecessary. The standard receiver with two antennas perpendicular to each other someplace in the plane for line of sight type stuff, it's probably going to be totally fine, but I can't help but try it. One of the issues is, if I'm going to have it here in the back, sure, I could build it in there now, but what after this is all covered? You know, what am I going to do to get it in and out? So I've designed this little tray here to hold the receiver, and of course I'll have the one antenna in that tube going horizontal and one antenna in another tube going vertical. Those will get taped into place and so forth. And then this has got a little, I don't know what you want to call it, hook on the bottom of it. It'll hook into this horizontal piece over there. I got this little T-bar here to hold it straight, and then it gets a screw going into there through this to hold it in place. So that secures it. It allows us to go in through the normal sort of opening and to, with a little bit of gymnastics, to be able to work that around. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy to do this, but I'm going to say it's going to be possible to do it. To get that back in there where we want it. And then I've got a line to indicate where the middle of it is, and it does go straight in the middle. So I've got a line on this little piece of tape here to line up with. We line that up, we run the screw in there, and there we've got our satellite receiver with the antennas. Of course, the antennas will stay in place once they are in place. You can see this horizontal one is right out near this edge of the airplane. The vertical one is right near the edge of the plane on the other side. And they're both in a place where there's hardly any interference at all. So it'll be interesting to compare the telemetry on this with our next flight as compared to our maiden flight with the crash. And we'll be able to look at the signal strength and see whether it made any difference at all. That's just an extra little thing that we're doing that is rather interesting. Our fiberglass on the cowl, engine cowl, was a bit rough, and so we've taken some fiberglass resin and mixed it with micro balloons to make this stuff here. We put it on there, and that is going to sand off quite nicely, and we'll make that a very smooth finish. We'll still have our little cutout down here, so I haven't worried about that part of it, although that is probably the better part. But anyway, this part in here was really bad, so we got that fixed up. And while I was at it, a piece of the balsa, we got the balsa in the corners of the wheel pants here, a piece of it had busted out where the screw went in there. So I just took some of that micro bubbles that I had already mixed up and put that in there. With the micro bubbles, by the way, what you do is you mix up your resin with the hardener first, with just a very small amount. Then take some of these micro bubbles and put it into a small container, and then you stir it and stir it and stir it. But you want the resin thoroughly mixed with the hardener before you start adding the micro balloons or micro bubbles. And that way you can be certain that it's going to harden up nicely. Okay, so that's that. We've added a little bit more the ordinary balsa filler to some spots that needed it on the plane. We did a testing the weight and balance, and unfortunately I couldn't get the battery all the way up to our support at the bottom in there. And so what I've decided to do is go back to the original, the plan which way we flew it the last time, with the battery mounted up top, up in here. So that'll be fine. And of course we've now got our satellite receiver in there with the antennas in the back, and that's plugged into the Lemon RX receiver up here, up in the front. Since that's connected, that's underneath this battery now, what I'm going to be doing is I'll just make sure that I've got enough of a lead on the servos, the aileron servos coming down, to where I can set the wing here on the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this bit of foam that I'll bring along with me that I'll just stick onto the back of the fuselage there. So I can take the wing off, set it back here. That keeps it from sliding off. Then I can change the battery without having to worry about unplugging the receiver underneath, and that'll allow me to have one less extension on the servo lead. So I'll just have the servo lead itself, one extension that then will plug straight into the receiver. One factor in not putting the thing down there with the support in here, I could have used a support in the back and then the support here. But one reason why I didn't do that is that with the ESC, with that down there lower, it interfered more with the ESC, and it was very hard to fit it in. So anyway, it worked pretty good sitting level up there on the top, and that's what we will continue to do, at least for the time being. We have now sanded the cowl. Pretty good shape. A little bit of an indentation there, and a little bit of a ridge along here. I could get some more micro bubbles. This ridge here I might be able to do something with, just with sanding. But anyway, they're both on the bottom, and I don't think they're any particularly big deal. A few places where I did some more sanding, around it here and there. Discovered that this bit is still loose a little bit on the edge, and what's happened there is I put the fiberglass cloth across there, but it only came up to about here. But I'm going to be trimming it back to about there. So again, I don't think I'm going to worry about it at this stage. Next repair, we can look at that. But yeah, considering the damage that it had achieved, I guess I need to sand that just a little bit right there. It got a little bit of a ragged edge. But yeah, when we spray that up, that's going to look really nice. That's not going to be a problem at all. Won't even need to be replaced. Well, here she is, ready for the bits of covering that are yet to be added. Yeah, let's look at the things that we've done here. We stuck on these bits of plastic over the ailerons, and I don't know that that's particularly necessary. I was just concerned about the airflow going over there and creating some turbulence that might keep the aileron from having the effect that it's supposed to have. Sort of as I'm finishing this, I'm getting started on a build for the VQ Dauntless Dive Bomber, and I'm just noticing, you know, relative size of the aileron, whether or not there's a bit of a gap in here. You know, this one, it's smaller, that one's, you know, sort of wider. Mine might be sealed a little bit better as far as air not flowing through it. Yeah, I think they're probably about the same that way. Of course, we don't have these. But anyway, just thinking about it, yeah, it's pretty common to have an air disturbance in that area. But I thought, well, hey, you know, let's just try to eliminate all of the issues that might potentially be there. So I've got these strips of plastic, both top and bottom, to just cover over where the gap is there. And it, you know, kind of follows as the aileron goes up and down. So we'll see what that is. If it flies really good, I might just try peeling them off and then see if it makes any difference. But for the initial thing, I want to make sure it flies. So I'm just doing my best to eliminate that being an issue. Okay, so with the wing, that's basically it. We've got these lightweight plywood ribs that we've added in there. We've got our cables that run through from the servos. On this particular rib here, I did put a support underneath this balsa, but I'm not going to bother patching in those holes. The balsa is glued where it's at, solid onto that plywood rib there, and I think that's plenty strong for what's needed in that particular area, because that balsa goes right through all the way to the other side there. Okay, looking at the fuselage, we cut it here in the back. We then put some balsa bits underneath and then added the other bits on top of that, gluing all of that securely through here, and then sanding it and filling it with a bit of balsa filler. We've already shown you about how we built the sides for the cabin, and that's all nicely epoxied together. We've got the plywood, it's 1/4 inch, well actually that's supposed to be 1/4 inch plywood, and what I did is I did two ones that are about 1/8 inch and epoxied them together to make the thicker plywood for that piece. So that's in there. It was a bit tricky working out these holes up here in this panel. The wing already had these dowels in place, and of course in the initial build you put the holes in here. You have these dowels just in there loosely, and you can have them pushed out of the way, and then you have this panel that's not glued in yet, set on those things with them not protruding, and that allows you to have the room to put it on there. But with these things in place and without holes there, then the wing is pushed back to where the back of the wing is up over top of this, and you can't check to make sure that the incidence is correct. So I did my best to sort of work out how high it needed to be. I just took a couple of microfiber claws and put them in here to make sure it was up plenty high enough. And then what I did for this here is I measured very carefully using my micrometer, actually, or caliper, digital caliper, measuring out the distance between these, the distance from the edges, and the distances down and all of that. And I laid that out on this bit of plywood. I then drilled holes that were just a little bit small in there, And then I worked out with a file what I had to do to be able to get them on there. And then after they were on there, then I again marked where the centers were, and they were totally flush up and down, so they were just a little bit off side to side. So I marked side to side exactly where they were. And then I use this as a template to put up there and use that as a drilling template to put those holes in. Okay? And after having done that, then I was able to mount the wing and verify that the incidence was correct. Initially, it was a little bit not enough incidence. It was a little bit too level. And that was because this balsa back here was too far up, so I sanded this back to that former back there, which is where it belongs, and cleaned it up a little bit in here. And that got it down to where it is just precisely right, and it's sitting right on these wing supports there. So very pleased with how that turned out. I've decided to put the battery box up here in the top. I think I've mentioned that to you. We looked at the possibility of having it farther forward, but even though we've moved the motor back a tiny bit, that wasn't enough to significantly change the overall center of gravity. So we're going to keep it level up there rather than having it on an angle down here. It works, so that should be fine. Wheel pants are back together again, and with the wheel pant, it was just busted out a little bit on the end. And when I made the micro bubbles for filling in on the engine cowl, I added some of that resin and micro bubbles onto the area that got busted out on the balsa, re-drilled into there, and that's fit together very nicely. Engine cowl is done. I should have sprayed the primer on the entire yellow bit. It's probably hard for you to see, but there's areas where it was white that it comes out much brighter, and then where I sprayed over the yellow, it's darker. And that's actually given me a bit of inspiration in that when I do this again, and I'm sure I'll end up repainting this at some stage, I'm going to prime it with white, okay? And if I prime it with white, I almost get the same yellow. As I look where the yellow is over the white, it's almost the same yellow as that, you know. So, yeah, we'll be doing that. I've got the covering on order. I'm hoping to receive it today and to finish off the covering and fly it tomorrow. That'd be wonderful if that can happen. But basically, we're going to put the green around here. I'm not sure whether I'll put the yellow thing up here or not, or whether I'll just bring the green around to there. I might just keep it simple at this stage and just use the green all over here and down to there and around, all the way up to here. But we'll see. Cowl came out quite nice. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but hey, it looks like a cowl, and you know, from a distance, it's hard to tell if there's anything wrong with it. Got the motor back in there. Trying this EOLO prop, which is a rather inexpensive prop, but it looks like it's built really well. So we'll see how that goes. And that's basically it. So thank you for watching as we've completed this repair, or come close to completing the repair. The next video, we will show the covering and so forth on, but the big thing will be the second maiden flight. So I'm confident it's going to go well. I wouldn't go through all this if I didn't think it would. But we'll see. I thought the first one was going to go well too. So you just need to keep watching, and to do that, well, it helps to subscribe. That keeps all of our videos handy, where you can refer back to them as needed. And of course, with 170 or so videos on our channel, you will find all kinds of helpful things with regard to your flying. And while you're at it, over here, you will see a link to the next video in the series with regard to this decathlon and the things that are going on. I'm RC Jim signing off. You have a great day, and I'll be checking back with you shortly.